The African American Legend series highlights the accomplishments of blacks in areas as varied as politics, sports, business, aviation, literature, and religion. We will explore how African Americans have succeeded in areas where they'd been previously excluded because of segregation, racism, and lack of opportunity. I'm your host, Dr. Roscoe C. Brown, Jr., and with us today is Austin Smith, who's Executive Director of the Sports Foundation, Incorporated. Glad to have you with us today, Austin.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
You are in a seat in an organization that has a 41-year history.
That's right.
You're not even 41 yourself, so tell us what you know about the history of the Sports Foundation.
Right. Yes, me being a youngster in a 40-year-old organization is very unique, but it's definitely an honor to have received such an opportunity. I know the Sports Foundation from talking with individuals such as yourself, Bob Williams, the founder, just about the history and the deep history it has in the city as far as some of the things that have been run, the city games, the exceptional seniors women's games, a lot of the different programs that have fostered a lot of activities that have produced some amazing people from the minority community, from people that were considered at risk, disadvantaged, who are now in great seats of power. So that's
the concept of the Sports Foundation by Robert A. Williams, Bob Williams, was building social responsibility through sports.
That is correct.
Using sports to improve education, service to the community, not just to be a basketball or a track program.
Right.
And I know that the city game and the exceptional senior game were games that brought together some of the best basketball players, but also emphasized tutoring, emphasized application for college, emphasized academic work, and that's being continued. Now, more recently, the Sports Foundation has been sponsored by OASIS, which is a substance abuse section of the New York State. Tell us about OASIS, what they try to do, and how the Sports Foundation works with them.
Right. OASIS is actually one of the great programs in the state of New York. They provide, they're concerned about youth prevention services, from alcohol addictions, drug prevention, substance abuse prevention. And through that program, we provide counseling through group sessions, through individual sessions, and then we provide a number of activities geared around prevention services. Now, prevention services can range from direct counseling, it can range from drug awareness programs, but it also comes down to what the Sports Foundation is trying to do now is create a sanctuary for these kids in the Bronx, these at-risk youth, these disadvantaged youth, a sanctuary where they can come for 3 hours out of the day, 4 hours out of the day, on the weekends, where they can come and be so to speak, insulated from the outside community, where they're susceptible to drugs, alcohol, violence, these risk factors. And so that's sort of what OASIS allows us to do.
It wasn't the concept of Sports Foundation that sports would be the magnet that would draw kids together so that then you could do some of these prevention activities. What kind of sport activities do you sponsor now?
Currently, we have one of our programs, which is called No Workshop, No Jump Shot, which is a program that takes place on the weekends and some classwork during the week, and it's geared around just that: no workshop, no jump shot. We run what's called the 5-spot drill. It's a drill that Bob Williams developed to teach various basketball skills, but at the same time, it's actually teaching life skills. It's teaching about teamwork. It's teaching about leadership. It's teaching about leadership through following people. We talk about leadership in a take charge kind of role, and I tell you what to do, but leadership is also about following people as well and learning how to do that. So it's a very unique program, and it's also it's an hour and a half of basketball skill building, but it's also an hour and a half of workshop. So we have special guests that come in and speak about a lot of our program participants are first-time offenders. So we have people from the justice system come in and speak about their experiences with youth and where they're headed and getting them back on the right track. We also have a set of series and workshops around nutrition, health, things that are sometimes overlooked by other youth services that really lead into the risk factors of the youth in the Bronx today.
Now, is basketball the only sport, or do you deal with other sports?
We also deal with other sports. Part of what my role has been to really come in is really to infuse make an impact on the Sports Foundation as far as leading it into this next, leading it to the future. And one of the things we're starting to do is take advantage of some of the obesity initiatives that are being developed in the Bronx. I think the statistics are now that 1 in 3 kids in the Bronx are obese, which is much higher than the rest of the city. What we're going to be doing is a set of services geared around fitness, geared around different sports, soccer, baseball, basketball, also nutrition, things like that. But more importantly, we want to provide a variety of sporting activities and non-sporting activities that gear around nutrition, fitness, and things like that, because there's a large girls population that have been overlooked for years who may not be attracted to some of the sporting activities that we have. There's also a lot of boys out there who may not necessarily be attracted to the sports activities that we have. So we have to find a hook for them, and we feel that the hook for them will be some of the other programs we have coming out. We're going to be launching a technology initiative where, technology has become very cheap over the last 10 years. It's a shame that more nonprofits don't have the technology even to run their own businesses, let alone provide services to the children. So, our kids are using technology that I don't even know about. So we have to provide that to them, teach them how to use it responsibly. One of the computer training courses, the kids are still doing homework on loose leaf paper, which I did when I was a kid because I didn't have access to a computer. But now these kids have access to computers, and wouldn't it be for me? It would put a smile on my face and make us all feel good if a teacher one day looks at a kid and they hand in a piece of paper that's their typewritten homework that they put it on a computer, they got it printed out, and they handing it over, and she says, "Wow, where did you do this?" And they say, "At the Sports Foundation." So that's where we're headed as an organization.
Now, what do you do with schools themselves? What kind of relationship do you have with schools in your community?
Well, a lot of our referrals are from the school system. Traditionally, we've worked with them as far as identifying children that may exhibit behavior that leads them to drug addiction, alcohol abuse, those that have already exhibited those types of behaviors, those who have gone through truancy, who are no longer in the school system, or who are no longer in the schools, are allowed to come back. We take those kids and we're able to provide them counseling and things like that. We also run a lot of our programs in the different schools. The model that we're working off of now and that we're trying to expand further is that the Sports Foundation does various programs at various schools.
For
example, right now we run an after-school program at one of the local schools in the area where we provide a variety of, we have our counselors come in and they teach, obviously we have a mandate to do prevention services, but we also have a fitness class that we teach there. We also have a sporting activities that we take place on the weekend where we do 3 to 4 week rotations where 1 week we'll do basketball. Now that the weather's cold, we're doing basketball, we're doing indoor soccer, things like that. When the weather gets warmer, we're doing flag football. We're doing activities to keep them busy. So
now the Sports Foundation started in Harlem in conjunction with School District Number 5, and then went to the Bronx on 149th Street at 3rd Avenue. You're now located on Westchester Avenue in the Bronx. Tell us where you're located and indicate how someone who wants to become involved with the programs can get in touch.
Right. We're located at 871 Westchester Avenue in the Bronx. Just like you said, it's at the corner of Westchester Avenue and Prospect. Our phone number is 718-665-9585. You can call there, ask to speak to one of our prevention counselors, and they will get you started as far as bringing your child in and doing the initial interview. We do an initial interview. We like to have the parents there. We like to have the children there so we can explain some of the activities that they can take a part of. There are requirements to be in the Sports Foundation. Your child is required to participate in at least 2 activities during the week to maintain their status. And then we have other incentive programs. We're taking monthly trips. We just saw Avatar in 3D in Times Square, and the kids loved it.
Right.
But those type of things, they're not just for everyone. You have to meet certain requirements at the sports
Now,
foundation.
I'm a parent, and I think my kid has a problem. Can I call and ask if I could get my kid into your program?
We have calls like that all the time. Yeah, definitely call. If you feel that your child has a problem and you would like to put them in the program, please do call 718-665-9585. You call, you'll speak to one of our prevention counselors, and then we'll get you started. That's how most of our referrals come in.
Now, you, as I said, you're younger than the 41 years of Sports Foundation.
Right.
How do you think the problems of young people today differ from the problems of young people 40 years ago?
I think a lot of the problems, the causes of the problems, maybe the underlying problems are pretty similar. It's just compounded by, different advancements that have taken place. A wider gap in income between the group that we're servicing and other individuals. I mean, the disparity between income, the different risk factors, they're more pronounced these days. They're similar, but they're more pronounced. And the problem that we have is really figuring out how to relate to our population. The youth now, they're into technology. They're into, they have that want it now, on demand kind of need that, the Time Warner Cable offers on demand service. They want the stuff right now in their face. And 40 years ago, that wasn't the case. It was a lot slower pace. So those are some of the challenges. I mean, if we get a kid in the program and we don't provide relevant content to him, he's not going to stay for very long. So we have to provide a way of delivering our services that they know they need, and juggle that with the type of content that we have to
What
do.
about the lack of role models? That I know as you were a young person, you had lots of role models to look up to, whether it be in the Y, the Boys Club, or your school clubs. What is the Sports Foundation doing to help provide role models, and how do you think people might want to become role models?
Right. I think every nonprofit has this problem where we have the problem of we have to get the parents more active, and the parent should be the leading role model. I know for myself, my role model was my parents, right? I mean, it started at home, which you see every day. And unfortunately, these kids don't see positive role models in the home. They come from broken homes, they come from single-family homes, they come from a place where even though that the parents are doing everything right, the parents are working 24 hours a day. They never see the kids. So we're trying to provide that through the different services we offer. We're trying to give, as we said, create a sanctuary where they can come and they can see the staff of the Sports Foundation is, like myself, very young, where they can see someone close to their age providing services, but also at the same time, they're seeing someone who has made it, who is doing a positive change in the community, where they can see what one can accomplish with the right education, with the right value system. They can really see that portrayed in the staff. So that's providing role models, and then we try to get outside people involved. We try to get the parents involved. One of the things we're starting to do is partner with a lot of organizations that deal with the parents, that offer services to them. So, for instance, one of the things that we've noticed is that the child, some of our participants' home life, there may be problems in the home not because there's alcohol, not because of drugs, not because of poverty, anything like that. It's the simple fact that the parent can't read. And so they can't read some of the things that are going on in the school that the kid can be active in, can't read the permission slips, so they don't sign their kid up for certain activities and things like that. So why can't we, as a sports foundation, partner with another organization? We actually have a computer lab that we're actually going to be expanding. Why can't we partner with another organization to have the parents come in? They have the expertise dealing with the older population. Have them come in and do some computer training. Have them come in and do some reading comprehension, reading skills. Building that kind of partnership is what we're trying to do. So
it's interesting. The Sports Foundation seems to have a lot of resources and good leadership. and you're mainly focused in the Bronx. To what extent could this model be expanded throughout the city? Do you think, not necessarily sports ground, but the model, and what does Oasis do to help expand this model? Because I know there are budgetary concerns, but there are also awareness concerns. What you describe makes 100% good sense. Why don't we do more of it? And how can we do more?
I think that's where we're going. Me as a new executive director just stepping in, I've sort of had the one-year vision, which is try to get the Sports Foundation on track, on the right page, provide my vision for what we're going to, this is sort of our test period. This is our R&D. We're developing all these programs, these partnerships, trying to build something in the Bronx. If it works in the Bronx, it can definitely work other places. So the 5-year vision really for the Sports Foundation, I tell it to anybody who will listen, is that we want to become the leading youth service provider in New York City. And then we can take it to other places. I mean, we could take this model anywhere. But that's sort of the vision. That's the 5-year goal. And I think partners like Oasis help us get there because of, obviously they're a statewide agency and they're interested in it. But they too are looking for, they realize that there is the way that nonprofits are funded, the way that they operate, the system's flawed, and that there has to be a new model. They're always looking for new models, new ways of doing things, and if we can provide that to them, which we think we can, this is a great opportunity for the Sports Foundation, for Oasis, and for the city of New York.
Well, that means that you can look at corporations and foundations, and even the federal government, because with the stimulus package, they're more interested in reaching out for young people. So you become a spokesman in a sense, and speaking on programs like this helps to get the word out that there is a model, because 41 years is a long time, and the Sports Foundation is one of the leading youth-serving organizations in the Bronx and in the city, which is why Oasis came to them. But now this model, which is a broader model than just dealing with sports, you want to expand it. At the same time, you want to build on some of the historic things like the city game, which was the first high school all-star basketball game in New York City for the stars, and then later for those who weren't stars who wanted to get scholarships. What do you plan to do with the city game this coming year?
Well, the City Games is still very much on our radar. That's a Sports Foundation staple. It helps, it does two things. It helps us get our word out, and it also provides a service to, like you said, the exceptional seniors who may not be the stars in their basketball team, but they are eligible for scholarships, and they meet certain requirements. They meet certain academic requirements. We, as Sports Foundation, are all about, yes, it's our role to help you and to provide service to you, but it's also, you have some responsibility as a participant in our programs. One of the things we want to do this year with the City Games is restore its glory. We want to make sure that it's an event that is worth going to, that people are excited about, and also that we can take advantage of, along with our partners and other organizations, can take advantage of the fact that we're going to have a tremendous amount of youth, parents, just different individuals from across the city even, not just the Bronx where we're located, but from everywhere, that they can take advantage of. This is an opportunity to get the word about different services, because a lot of people in the city do not take advantage of services, not because they don't want to, but simply because they don't know that those things are offered. So
the City Game at one time was in Felt Forum at the Madison Square Garden. It was in the universities, at Bronx Community College, John Jay College, and I believe you say you're thinking about Hostos or Lehman College in the Bronx this year?
Correct. We're thinking about Hostos. We're thinking about, really it's going to come down to, we're thinking about different options, different locations. We're in the planning process of it now. But one of the things we want to make sure is that the location, the activities, it's not just a game anymore, it's an event. Whether that's a week-long event, whether it's a day event, we want something that people are going to be drawn to, get excited about, and want to come check it out. Hey, what's going on with the Sports Foundation? As I heard this buzz, we want to get some media involved. We want to get different players involved to get the word out, to attract more people, so it becomes the event that it used to be.
One of the things that the City Game tried to do, or still does, is to give young people an orientation into college. I think that we have the sports student-athlete handbook, which talks about how do you qualify for college. You have to take the SAT, you have to make a certain score, you have to have a resume. those are the kind of things that I know in the past the city game has done with the participants. It's just not a showcase to get a scholarship.
Right.
And one of the things under your leadership, I know, is to bring back, to expand those educational aspects of it, because in our society, sports and education go together, but you can't just have sports. You've got to have the education.
And that's exactly correct. I mean, speaking on a larger initiative that we're running, the city games and the exceptional seniors, the seniors that come to the program, we have to get them information that they may or may not already have about colleges. Usually the children now, because of the different basketball programs, I mean, Nike runs a camp, there's all these, Reebok runs camps, these kids are they're no longer just contained to their community, they're expanding by going to all these different games, so they have a lot of this information. But more importantly, that information is also good not just for the city games participants, but also for the Sports Foundation participants, also for other organizations, also for the parents. This is information that we have to start at an earlier age, because as we know now, a college education is not just something that you hope to achieve. It's a necessity. You have to have a college education these days. And so to really instill that to our youth, we have to start at an earlier age. We can't just say, we can't get a senior in and say, well, you got to start thinking about college. You need to do this.
By the way, what is the age range of the youth you serve?
We service ages 12 to 20. That's our sweet spot. That's what we do. We will, on occasion, we do have children from a younger age, but they're mostly siblings of participants from the older group.
Now, what about leadership development? Because we talked about helping the kids to overcome problems and get on the right track and build their careers. What about leadership? Because you're a leader, and there are a lot of leaders who come from younger generations, and we need more of that. Positive role models, leaders. Tell me what you're doing about leadership development.
It's actually funny you mentioned that, because we have a weekly planning session with all the staff on every Wednesday. And last Wednesday, this topic came up. Just this same topic, we had done through one of our groups, we had asked the kids to write down what they think it means to be a leader and what they think it means to be a follower and things like that. And part of the whole concept came out of that was how do we create a leadership academy within the Sports Foundation to really get these kids to think, what is a leader? Because a lot of the kids, they think, well, I'm a leader because I'm in a grade above the person sitting next to me. And he said, well, I'm a junior and he's only a sophomore. And we say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't necessarily make you a leader. So we've come up with certain qualifications within the Sports Foundation that qualify you for being a leader. And now we can say, you're a leader now. And what we're offering is you can take leadership roles within the Sports Foundation, because at the end of the day, this is not a foundation that's my foundation. It's not your foundation. It's not Bob Williams' foundation. It's the Children's Foundation. It's a foundation for the children. They dictate to us what they need. And so if we can get them to actively participate, not in the programs, but actually in running some of the programs and taking on leadership roles within the programs, that's great. We have an individual right now where we saw a spark in her from the beginning, and she really has excelled over the years. And now she runs our tutoring sessions. So we have a homework session and it's amazing if you come there. I mean, she is just like one of our prevention counselors or one of our staff members, where she gets the kids to come in and she tells them when they need to sit down and do the homework at this particular hour, and she helps them. And then she's really providing a service that necessarily we couldn't even provide because she can relate a little better to the kids. So those are the types of things that we're trying to do.
Well, I think the model of community development now is not just having somebody at the top telling you what to do. It's getting people involved in this and also getting some satisfaction. Feedback is a major part of getting satisfaction. Somebody say, thank you, you did a good job. Why don't you do it this way?
Right.
In working with your staff, what are you doing in the area of staff training, staff development?
Well, one of the things that I did when I took over is, obviously, my background is not in the nonprofit world. My background is from a corporate side. And one of the things I came in and I said is, you guys have been running programs and services for the last, in some cases 3 years for some of the staff. I don't have a clue on how to run what types of prevention programs you need. You're going to teach me that. So they're given the responsibility of coming up with programs, with content. I tell them, you know, this is my overall direction. This is where I think the Sports Foundation is. But it's their job and their goal to really push those along. So the other day, for instance, I said, you know, a couple months ago, I had told the staff we need to do some community service with some of our partners. One of our good partners is World Vision in the Bronx, who provide a lot of materials, equipment. They provided us with over 200 Christmas gifts for our Christmas party that we handed out to children. So why not do something to give back? They have a huge warehouse in the Bronx with a handful of staff. The rest is volunteers. So this week, our program director had organized an event where 14 of our Sports Foundation participants went to World Vision for 3 hours and volunteered. And I got a text message about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock that night, and she was thanking me for the opportunity, and she was so excited. So these are the kinds of things that we want to start doing, that the staff feels more involved, and the participation has gone up, and we're really seeing the youth come out and really enjoy what they're doing. So.
Today on African American Legends, we've been talking with Austin Smith, who's the Executive Director of Sports Foundation, and he's been telling us about the many things that he and his organization are doing to work with youth in our community. I want to thank Austin for being with us today on African American Legends.
Thank you. It's good to be here.